And as she walked out, the gentleman she was with was like, "Oh my goodness, what a lovely shop!" And it just myself and my colleague Aileen were just like, it's moments like that where you're like, "Oh my goodness, yes, we're selling books, and they are ultimately just a product that people can buy." But like you say, they take people away from something. But we have those kind of interactions more than you can possibly believe.
Get Radio Breakfast with Rich Smith.
We continue our wonderful Takeover week this week. 10 years of independent Oxford, celebrating with Rosie and all of the fantastic indies that are across Oxfordshire. And normally I kind of do the sort of build up and say I'm looking forward to kind of my next guest. But I'm actually going to do a message that we've had in before we get Sarah on. I'm going to do a message that came in. So we'll start with that, and then we'll go into the introduction there from there. Sarah from Mostly Books. Right next door to Abingdon Picture and Framing. She bought the business not long after we moved in. A lovely lady and a fantastic bookshop. Pass on my regards. By the way, she knows me as John and not Peaky. So please welcome to the show Sarah Dennett from Mostly Books down in Abingdon. Sorry, I thought I'd give that as an introduction because that seems like a wonderful one. Morning, Sarah. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
There we go. Your old neighbour has got in touch from Abingdon Picture and Framing there to say hi and passing on regards. I thought that's a lovely start to welcome you onto the show.
That's fantastic. Yeah,
it's great. It's great, and it shows that it's local, if nothing else, which is wonderful stuff. Sarah, tell us about Mostly Books. We know that you've been there for a little while now, but as Peaky says, an amazing bookshop and doing great things down in Abingdon.
Yeah, so the shop's been going since 2006, but I bought it in 2017. So I've been there for 8 years this year, which is terrifying because time just goes so fast when you're doing this kind of job. It's it's kind of all encompassing, but it's amazing. So the shop it's small, but it's, in my opinion, absolutely perfect. It's a mixture of adult and kids books. We obviously sell, the name kind of gives it away, we sell a lot of books, but we also sell other things as well. So we sell greeting cards, stationery, some kids games and so on. But it's kind of really important for us that not only are we a shop that obviously sells products, but we're also kind of a community space. So we pride ourselves on being really welcoming to any type of customer, and we find that the nature of our job is that a lot of people end up kind of opening up to us. It's very strange because we're booksellers at the end of the day. We sell books, but there's something about the space and the environment of being around books that means that people seem to be able to feel like they can come in and kind of create those relationships and have really open, interesting conversations, which is just one of my favorite parts of the job by a long way.
That is so interesting, and I'm actually, since you've kind of mentioned that, you probably never have thought of that, but think about every time any one of us has gone into said bookshop, it's almost like, I'll use an example, if you feel like the gatekeeper of all of the knowledge and wisdom of all of the books on the shelves, and kind of someone's coming in and kind of go, okay, well, this is what I like, this is maybe what I've read before, or this is maybe where I'm going with this. And kind of, it's your job to kind of go, okay, unlock those little bits and bobs and build that relationship to kind of give that recommendation, because it's a big deal. People are going to spend time with their book. People are going to be absorbed into it. This is, a book is something that people, kind of take away from themselves from reality with a little bit and kind of go, this is my time, this is my space. If I'm going to spend an hour with it, I want it to be the best that it can be, the most interesting it can be. And I guess that's how it's an important relationship. I've never really thought about it like that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, a great example happened just literally 2 days ago. So I was in the shop. It was coming to the end of the day. I was with my colleague Aileen, and a woman came in with, I don't know if it was her husband, a partner, or it was just a friend. I don't know. The two of them came in, and she came up and she said, I'm looking for a book that is quite literary. We're looking for literary fiction, but I'm looking for something that's not kind of too sad, which is quite tricky because a lot of literary fiction has a lot of sadness in, or kind of trauma or something. And we started chatting. We ended up, the three of us ended up having this really lovely conversation. And we ended up choosing a few books for her. And at the end of it, she came to the counter and she said, "You know what? That was absolutely lovely." She said, "I just had a terrible afternoon. I've just been to register my mother's death." And she said that it had just taken like it just brought the afternoon up a bit. And as she walked out, the gentleman she was with was like, "Oh my goodness, what a lovely shop!" And it just myself and my colleague Aileen were just like, it's moments like that where you're like, "Oh my goodness, yes, we're selling books, and they are ultimately just a product that people can buy, but like you said, they take people away from something." But we have those kind of interactions more than you can possibly believe, and it's a part of the job I didn't consider before I had the shop. And it's probably, like I say, it's a privilege, and it's an amazing part of the work.
Yeah, it's so true, and I take myself into that point where you're walking in with with godsons and what have you, walking in with friends that want to buy books and what have you, and it's very rare that you don't speak to someone. You kind of, it's for some people, of course, they go, "I know what I want, I'm going to get it, buy it, I'm off." But actually, the majority is kind of like, "Actually, can I help?" Yeah, I think you probably can. I'm looking for a book for a 5 to 6 year old who's got a wild imagination. I'm looking for the latest sexy thriller or whatever floats your boat in the book world. And that's always the start of a conversation. And to be that personal and to kind of forge those relationships, I guess that leads to the success, the repeat business of customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something we hear time and time again, because obviously we've got a lot of competitors. We're a small indie business. Books are a luxury. They're not something you need to survive. But we view them as kind of an affordable luxury, because actually if you look at how much they cost versus, let's say, a cup of coffee, and the amount that you can get out of it for that price, great. But obviously there are places online, there are high street retailers that can charge a lot less than we can. So people make a choice coming into our shop. People make a choice to shop with us and to provide us with custom, which we really appreciate. But a lot of that is the kind of, we pride ourselves on like the shopping experience. So we're always very friendly when people arrive. We always make sure every customer is greeted, but we don't want to smother them. So we don't kind of go over and kind of make sure they feel uncomfortable, but equally we want to make sure they understand that we're there and happy to provide recommendations, and just have a chat if people just want to have a chat. We have a lot of kind of elderly customers that come in that just really, we're just kind of a port of call, and they will buy from us, but sometimes they'll just come in and say hello, and that's an important part of their week or their month or what have you, and that's lovely as well.
No, that is amazing. And you mentioned at the start, actually, just that it is more than a bookshop, and it is a community space. And anywhere that has space on the high street can be part of the community. And actually, John in his message said that there's loads of wonderful indies that's down Sturt Street, and you should sort of go down there. But having that space, and like you said, having those moments with whoever sort of comes in, and having events as well where people can sort of club together and be part of it, they're also really important to the success of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. We run a lot of events in the shop, and it's something that's really important to us. So we kind of do a range of things, from stuff that happens in the shop, people can just kind of come into, don't even realize it's happening in some instances. So for example, Independent Bookshop Week's coming up in June, and we always do a big celebration, and people come in. We often ply people with cake and sometimes spheres if we're feeling generous, and generally just have a bit of a festive atmosphere in the shop. So you have things like that are lovely, but then equally we do author events. We go into schools, we do some in the shop, we do some at external venues. We also do things that aren't related to authors. So we have like a Boozy Books event where we pair books with wine, and that's really popular. But our author events are really good. We have we kind of go from things like, we've got something this Friday with an author called Fiona Scarlett, which is just a very small, it's going to be an intimate event in the shop. She's a brilliant Irish writer. She's going to be in conversation with another fantastic Irish writer, and the two of them are just going to be having a bit of a chat in the shop, and it will be small. I mean, there might be 20 people there, but it will be a really lovely intimate affair. And then equally we'll do events in the local theatre, like at the Amy Theatre and Abingdon School, which can seat up to 430 people, I think. So we have like all ranges, and we really kind of work very hard to make sure that what we're offering is varied, so there's always something for somebody.
And speaking of varied, the book world is, well, the most varied thing I can possibly imagine and think of, to be brutally honest. At the minute, there's obviously trends and what's fashionable with books and buying. What's in at the minute? Is that the right question? What is a fashionable thing, this is coming from someone who doesn't read enough, as you can probably tell. But what's the kind of, I don't know, the fashionable thing? People are coming in going, oh, I've heard about this. I'm keen for a little read of that.
Well, there's so many things, and it really depends on the reader, and it really depends on the demographic. But something that's just come out recently is the new kind of book in the Hunger Games series that came out a week or so ago, and that's been kind of flying off our shelves. But for us, we don't. It's strange because I have two shops actually. I have Mostly Books in Abingdon. I also have Borzoi Bookshop and Stow-on-the-Wold, and even those two shops, even though I run them, I own them, they're really different demographically with what people buy and how people buy. So I don't know. I mean, I guess there are fashions, there are trends. You see a lot of stuff on BookTok and so on, but some of that stuff doesn't necessarily translate to our shop. So we just find that what we have to do as booksellers is we have to be aware of the trends and what the big titles that are coming out, obviously. But what's really important to us is make sure that what we're curating is to the customer base that we know and understand. So in Abingdon versus Stow, for example, that, like I say, they're quite different. Abingdon's a lot more fiction based. And people are more likely to come in and buy a paperback, whereas if you go to Stow, you're probably selling a lot more hardback history, for example. So it's really interesting, and it's just one of those things that just you have to just take time to get to know your customers to work out what works.
No, absolutely. Well, look, it feels fitting that we started on a message from someone. I feel we should end on a message with someone as well, because Rob's just got in touch as well. Said, Mostly Books is great. I've been in there in my Stormtrooper outfit. So there we go. We've come full circle. We've had Peaky saying, I was your neighbour. And we've got Rob, who was there dressed as a Stormtrooper, as he does. Sarah, it's been an absolute joy and pleasure catching up with you. And best of luck with everything with Mostly Books down in Abingdon and, of course, in Stow-on-the-Wold as well. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
That's brilliant stuff. Sarah Dennis there from Mostly Books in Abingdon as we continue our Oxford Independent Week, which is fantastic. Great stuff. Good chat to Sarah all day.